production of Broad and High is funded in part by the Greater Columbus Arts Council, supporting arts, advancing culture, and connecting the community to artists, events, and classes at columbusmakesart.com.
This time on Broad and High, discover an artist who incorporates her Greek heritage into her work, experience contemporary quilts that are full of history, meet a Columbus artist whose work changed in response to a personal health crisis, and hear a song from a Columbus-based Americana band. This and more right now on Broad and High. Welcome to Broad and High. I'm your host, Kate Quickle. Born in Greece, Evangelia Philippidis remembers playing in the ruins of the Parthenon. Her impressive work combines Greek mythology with her early cultural and visual experiences. Using themes of nature and women, she celebrates the resilience and power found in both. Let's learn more about what fuels her incredible imagination.
I was born in Greece, spent the first 10 years of my life there. My first clear memory was playing in the Parthenon, which you can't even walk into it now. From the time I was 3, it was museums and concerts and plays and archaeological sites and spiritual places and the sea and growing up with the Greek myths. So it was just an incredible visual experience. And then I was transferred here to America in the middle of winter of 1966 to Lorain, Ohio. And I absolutely hated every minute of it. I work with 2 different themes. One is nature, and the other is women, and they are integrated. Women, like nature, is resilient and powerful and at times vindictive, and so, you don't respect it, it's going to bite you. This is one of the nature pieces. The blues, I've done bluegrass, and so this is the one for classical. And so I did this one piece where the opera singer is Brunhilde with the horns, the lion that's playing the harpsichord, kind of Mozart, and what else but a female peacock playing the harp. And then I take those initial drawings and I put them into the computer. And this is kind of accessing who I am as a person as well. Born in the old world, raised in the new world. Then I manipulate the individual pieces to get them the right size that I want, whether it has to be flipped, whether it has to be bigger or smaller, or how I want it to integrate with each other. And at the end, I end up with a final piece that I transfer on parchment paper. And then that parchment paper transfers through a paper called Sorel paper, which is a white graphite paper, onto the scratch board. And what it is a white clay-covered board that either stays white and you apply ink to it, or it comes pre-inked. Then I get a very sharp knife and usually a glass of wine. And I scratch away the black ink to expose the white underneath. So I'm working in reverse. I like to create movement with it and shadows, so depending on how light the strokes are. I like the way his hair is turning out, too. So once I get this illustration all worked out, it can take anywhere between a week, or it can take me months to do it. So once I get the scratching done, the piece is done as far as I'm concerned. It's all black and white. I could apply color. I choose not to. I'm not very comfortable with color to put on the original piece. So I bring it to the 21st century. I scan it into Photoshop, and then I apply color digitally. And that way, if I don't like something, I haven't messed it up. So this is Athena, and black and white, cleaned up. And then I start going in real close. Pick the color for the helmet that she's wearing. And I think I want to put some highlights in here to give it a little bit more depth. Now see, that's way too dark. I don't like it, so I can go back and change it. And then in the end, when it's all said and done, it looks like that. This is Mistras, and this is an abandoned Byzantine village in the Peloponnese. And it's a ghost town, literally a ghost town. And so these are the ghosts that occupy it. This is one of the last queens of the Greek Byzantines, Theodora Tuko. And this is Constantine, the last Byzantine emperor, and of course the black cat that kept following me around everywhere. This is Persephone, queen of the underworld. And so she was kidnapped by Hades, did not want to be in the land of the dead. So she was very lonely. And so she made friends in this story that I came up with. She makes friends with a three-headed dog, Cerberus, because no one understands little pit bulls. They're always so misunderstood. And so two lost souls have kind of come together to help each other. This is my mother in a refugee camp in Greece. And she inspired this particular piece. Well, she's my hero. It was her birthday, and she had just turned 84, and I just wanted to do a tribute to her. My whole point is to draw things through an emotional lens. For instance, Sally Rides, of course, one of my heroes, lost her way too young, and so I decided that I wanted to do an image of her, and then this is the final piece that came out. Powerful feminine. She took it from Earth and brought it into space. Josephine Baker was another incredible woman at the time that she was famous, and the fact that she had to go to another country to do what she did so well. And again, it's not a representation of her, but of the movement and the feeling and the emotion. And this is what my friend Diana, who I went to Greece with. She was up for anything and everything. And so it's Diana, if you look at it from the Roman point of view, but it's Artemis, and she is, well, it kind of speaks for itself in terms of she's letting the guy know that no. Every Christmas, I do a predator and a prey. Again, talking about us, taking care of each other, whether we're animals or humans taking care of the world, that we are can get along. Seriously, we can, trust me. And so this is this year's Christmas piece of a grizzly bear and reindeer. I love combining history and relating it to modern issues, so that people can see that mankind has not changed that much. The same things that were relevant 3,000 years ago are seriously relevant now. One of these days we'll get it right. I have a lot of faith in that. What matters is that we are all brothers and sisters, that we all inspire each other across the world. And we need to also be caretakers of this world. And those are the things that I want to present with my art.
Evangelia will be featured in an exhibit called Daughters of Athena at the Columbus Cultural Arts Center. It runs August 5th through September 10th. Check out more of her work at theartofelvangelia.net. Next, we learn about the art of Letitia Huckabee. She combines photography and quilting, which focuses on the African American experience. Her work reflects on the past while making its connection to the present. Let's take a look.
Letitia Huckabee is an artist, and she was a military child. Her father was pretty high up in the military, actually, so she lived in Germany. And she really didn't deal with race in the same way that a lot of people living in the South would have. And so I think there was kind of a moment in her adulthood where she had to contend with her past, this history of oppression, their ties to slavery, and you see that in the work because it really was out of sight, out of mind. A large part of her life, her parents really shielded her. Much of the work is called LA 19 Project. It's based on her family who lives along Louisiana Highway 19. Highway 19 connects Baton Rouge with East Feliciana Parish. Her work references her family's history in East Feliciana Parish, and there's a plot of land that several of her family members live on. Her grandmother had 11 kids, and so her mom moved back to Louisiana after the death of her father. And so Letitia found herself visiting here even more than she had as a child. And so what you see in this work is her finding that history, finding that lineage, thinking about the matriarchs in her family, and really becoming familiar with this place that's been so integral in her history. Cotton is important to the process and her meaning. Cotton is accessible, it's warm, it's comfortable, it's something that everyone can connect to, and I think that that's really important to her. Quilting is something that's shared, it crosses racial boundaries. Just about everyone has quilts in their lives, or grandmothers or mothers, so there's something here for everyone. I've had people come in and respond to this work. This is called quilt number 1, and what you can really see here is so much of her process and how it relates to meanings. She is printing this on cotton, but also shooting through cotton. So a lot of times Letitia Huckabee shoots through quilts. She always says her work is about faith, family, and heritage. And so she references her heritage through the cotton, which she kind of makes as precious as a rose. And cotton references picking cotton, her family's history of enslavement, East Feliciana Parish. And then faith is represented by this addition of light. So the light shining through the cotton brings the person into focus. So we can see images of her husband, her son, their hands touching, with the addition of this historic symbol of cotton and faith, the self comes into focus, or your history comes into focus. And so we're also talking about this process of quilting. Quilting is a process that's long connected with women, and so Letitia's thinking about the women in her family, the matriarchs, and how they kind of made do and worked creatively with what they had. Every work is quilted or collaged with images collaged together. A quilt entitled Cotton Pest and Diabetes is another incredibly personal work. Letitia Huckabee created it soon after the passing of her father due to complications of diabetes. That work is incredibly important because it connects up the historic inequity related to cotton picking and enslavement with the ravages of diabetes that disproportionately affect African American communities today. And so it features images of kind of cotton fields after the harvest that are kind of just broken down and beaten down, and she puts those with tissues that are kind of affected by diabetes, and then the obituary of her father is featured in the center, and then other members of her family who are kind of contending with diabetes.
When you see me as an African American artist working with cotton fields, it immediately brings certain things to mind. Right away, you're thinking about slavery and oppression and all those kind of things, but that sort of continues, and we're seeing that conversation explode in today's time, at looking at how some of those oppressions are still here, and it shows up in lack of health care and those kind of resources. And so this piece for me is a little emotional because I lost my father, and it was the first time I'd lost someone really close to me, but at the same time I feel like it speaks really powerfully for issues within my culture.
Look What a Woman's Got is kind of a play on a saying in Letitia's family. There was a serviceman who came home, I think it was like an uncle, and he had sardines and crackers, and he was just burst through the door and said, "Look what a man's got." And her grandmother just picked up on that, and it became this saying in her family for any time things were going well. And so Letitia, after the passing of her grandmother, inherited these heirloom fabrics and then took images of her grandmother throughout her life. There are images from when she's 16. There's an image of her at Letitia's wedding, and then combined them into this clothesline as like a reference to that kind of experience in Greenville, Mississippi.
See more of her work at huckabeestudios.com. Following a cancer diagnosis, Julie Abajanek was compelled to change her art practice. She abandoned her paints and chemicals and instead embraced non-toxic materials such as paper and fiber. In 3 dimensions, she explores the cellular growth found in this potentially deadly disease.
So having a French mother allowed me the opportunity to, hit museums. I spent a lot of summers walking around the Louvre with her. At some point, I was standing in front of a Van Gogh painting and I thought to myself, this is what I want to do. I want to make these things. I want to make paintings. My art practice is very different from where I was. I'm not a painter anymore. So 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. I found a lump in my neck. The doctor said either we're going to cure you or we're going to make you comfortable for the next 6 months. And I was 36 when I found this out. So I had to clean up my act. I had to clean up how I was going to be a maker. And while I was getting treatment, I taught myself how to knit and crochet. So that was my first moment where I was just like, okay, fiber, this is something new. This is how I can kind of generate the act of making for me in a safe, healthy manner. But on top of that, I became very fascinated with my disease and started looking at field stains of my disease. So that's the disease right there. It's got 2 cells and it's got googly eyes. And those are protein cells, and that's why the cancer is so curable. I want people to find beauty in not this moment of death, but the beauty that this is just a natural thing in nature and in the world that we kind of have to experience. The beat of the work is, that's called Pestilence Stage 1, 2, and 3, and that's basically, that's a self-portrait of the cancer growing in my neck. I had a mass in my clavicle area, and then I had 2 underneath my sternum. So when you look at the piece, it's flatter, and then it starts growing. So there's this metastasis of information. So it's that whole, the necklace stand becomes the host, the beads are the parasite. So that's the intent for when you see the piece. I'm hyper aware of my material and how I'm using it. A lot of my work is paper, hand cut, hand folded, hand glued, or stitched together. I finally invested in a laser cutter, a mini cutter, so now it cuts the circles for me because I was hand cutting a lot of my pieces. So I use traditional glue, Elmer's glue. It's not toxic, if little kids can use it, then I can too. Where when you're looking at a painting and you see a brush stroke, you know that hand made that brush stroke with the brush. With me, it's the paper is the stroke. It's that moment that I apply it then to create more of a texture. All the things that I've learned from painting are being translated into these pieces, and that's how I'm thinking about the work as I'm moving through them.
It's kind of a crazy process. I don't know why I do this to myself, but I do.
So Poumon Noir it's black lung, and I was really fascinated by the texture of the lung when it's in that disease form, but it's also that translating of something small, and as it gets bigger and it gets bigger and it's growing. So it has that dual quality of depth, but talking about the sense of something taking over something else. My work isn't art therapy because that's not how I think of it. My work is telling a story or having people kind of reflect back on maybe those that have passed away from cancer, those that are dealing with cancer, that, you know, these quiet moments or moments for them to reflect and think. Quilling. So I actually just started getting really interested in quilling. So we're gonna first start off with some basics. We're gonna make all of these shapes first because I think it's really important to get a basis before you kind of move into making something. I love introducing art to someone who may say, I can't make art, I don't know how to do this stuff. And I always think, yeah, you can. You want to just kind of hold your paper onto your pencil to start, and you just want to wrap it. So you just want to wrap the paper around the pencil. Nicely done. Looks good. I just like seeing people get excited and then seeing, okay, now that I understand all the basics, let's see what I can do with it. Being a survivor, no matter what type of cancer you have, it's ingrained in you. It becomes a part of who you are. Like very simple everyday things become really valuable, really important, right? So 10 years out from being diagnosed, I'm 5 years out, 5 going on 6 years out from my cure date. So everything's been fine. I think that I'm a better maker for it, to tell you the truth. I think my work has richer substance to it than before. I'm happy to be where I am today.
Follow Julie on Instagram to keep up with her latest creations. Next, we have a song from our Broad and High Presents series called Cornflower Blue by Push Me Pull You. Frontwoman Erica Holycross proves that the accordion deserves its rightful place in the world of rock. Let's take a listen.
Shoulder if you thought you were young enough to. Ocean indigo sky midnight, flash from a wing as it's just taking flight. I've seen the purest painter's delight reflected in your eyes. Cornflower blue, cornflower blue. Cornflower blue. Wrestling with the past again, wondering how to proceed. Sometimes standing still is the best way to fight. Sometimes you don't need anything. Cornflower blue. Cornflower blue, cornflower blue. Oh, I never cared for the color till you told me about your tattoo, the one you would have worn on your shoulder, the one you would have worn on your shoulder. One you would have worn on your shoulder. Cornflower blue, cornflower blue, cornflower blue, cornflower blue, cornflower blue, cornflower blue. Cornflower blue,
Well, that's our show. Remember, you can find all of our stories online at WOSU.org, as well as on our YouTube channel. For all of us here at WOSU, I'm Kate Quickle. Thanks for watching.
You say to yourself as you try to step out, what if I don't make it to battle between your dreams and your doubts? So come on, let's go. Let's shake off all our fears and let go, 'cause we're not coming home till we follow this road. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Tomorrow's a new day, a white blank page with nothing written yet.
Production of Broad and High is funded in part by the Greater Columbus Arts Council, supporting arts, advancing culture, and connecting the community to artists, events, and classes at columbusmakesart.com.